Hello everyone. Today on Scottish Memories, we are chatting to Sanjeev Kohli. So how are you all? I hope you are all happy and healthy and safe out there wherever you are. It's been a little while since we've had a Scottish Memories, but I am over the moon with the guests we have today, although Series 3 will be very staggered and all over the place. It won't be weekly. I apologise about that. I hope you're okay. But let's dive in. Today on Scottish Memories, we're chatting to Sanjeev Kohli. You'll recognise Sanjeev from some incredible programmes like Gary Tank Commander, Rabsy Nisbet, River City, Cold Feet, Stan and Ollie, Bob Servant Independent, Fresh Meat, Holby City, and not to mention, of course, Still Game, to name but a few. Sanjeev, hello, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. I'm over the moon to have you on, plus to have you as my first guest of Series 3. I am honoured. Thank you very much, sir.
Well, they say that Series 3 is when anything really kicks in. It's like the third pancake, isn't it? You throw the first two away, don't you? It's only by the time and children as well.
So you can't say that to me. I've got my first kid now at 9 months old. I can't throw her away already.
You'll perfect it by the third one. Trust me, I've got three.
Don't say that.
I had three, I've got one. No, I'm joking.
Right. It's funny though, as soon as you have one, the first question you get from anyone else is, so when's the next one coming along? I'm like, can I get used to this one first?
You know what I mean? It's like if you were stabbed in the street and someone came up and says, when are you next getting stabbed? Maybe can I heal this and maybe we'll talk about me getting stabbed again, maybe?
Can we fix this one first? That'd be great. Thanks very much. And also, you're absolutely right about the pancakes. Whenever I make pancakes, the first two are awful.
You're right. You should write them up before you start. It should be part of the process.
It's always the pan. I never have the pan hot enough.
But no one gets the pan hot enough. It's people don't get the pan hot enough to make pancakes and they don't get the oil hot enough to make chips. Those are two, first world worries, but first world complaints, but nevertheless
these are the things that matter, though. They really are. So before we get started, how are you? Are you healthy and well and everything?
I am. I'm good. I guess I've been sort of lucky in that River City's been ongoing and picked up quite early in lockdown. So so many people in my profession have been struggling, and so I'm one of the jammy ones that's been able to work. Obviously not as much as before, but to have some meaningful employment and also to get to go to a place of work. I mean, I have done a lot of stuff in the house. Like there was one day a few months ago where I recorded a part in a Radio 2 sitcom. I did a podcast and I did an audition, all where I'm sitting now. And when I did the Radio 2 sitcom, there was people in America and India. And I did think, this is actually quite fun. This could be the future in a lot of ways. So, I mean, working practices will change. I mean, I know, speaking to my nephew, for example, he started back at work and he actually quite enjoyed working at home. But he said, I do miss being around people. But the way they're going to do it now is he's going to go into work 2 days a week and work from home 3 days a week. And he's going to love that. So I think people have realised that you don't have to be traipsing in and polluting the planet to get to your work, and you don't need a water cooler. It's metaphorical. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it isn't. When I go into River City, which I'm sure. Like, I know that you've interviewed Gail Telfer-Stevens, the quadruple threat that is GTS, but like, we're all sort of people, and it's just nice to have the energy of being around people, albeit 2 meters away, albeit doing our own makeup. I'm not actually Asian. I haven't done the makeup, but it is nice to be around people. But it doesn't have to be all the time. So no, the short answer to your question is I'm well and thankfully quite gainfully employed.
Good. I'm glad. I think I'm probably going to have to start working my way around the River City, because obviously I've had Gail, Grant Stott, who is obviously a new member of your team. He's been on. Jordan's been on as well.
Jordan's been on, yeah.
I'll have to start marking you all off and try. It'll be like, remember the sticker books you used to get.
Have you not seen the Figure and Panini River City sticker book?
I haven't. Is this a real thing?
No. But if we talk about it like it is, it might become a real thing. And I'll become collectible. Need. I've got a Sanj. Need, doubler. Need. I'd love to be. I'd love to be in a sticker album.
That is, I mean, I know we're jumping in straight into a Scottish memory almost immediately, but in primary school, everyone, I can remember there was always one kid who had a massive pile of stickers, and you just go, need it, got it, need it, got it, and try to. So it was, and how I remembered them all, I have no idea.
But also how passionate you are at that age about anything. Like I bet you. So you're. I'm guessing you, because I know that you're roughly the same age as Gail, so you must be around about 40, 41.
44.
44,
yep.
Right?
Yep.
So, like, you will remember like it was yesterday, the sticker album from, say, 1980 or 81, probably, or maybe a little bit later. And I bet you if I showed you it now, you'd be able to name all the players, because when you're that age, you are that passionate. Amanda Iannucci talks about this. He's a bit of a hero of mine. And I think he's done this in the sketch where he said, I know nothing about football, but I can talk to you endlessly about the Liverpool team of 1982 or the Notts Forest, because that was, he does this sketch where the people are talking about football, he'll drop in a thing about Brian Clough or about, some early 80s memory, because that's what he's clung on to, because I think his brother was into football and he was by default, but also just being that age, you're like a sponge, you absorb everything. And that's why I think I've become a child again during the big football tournament. So like last few weeks, I've been like a big kid again. I mean, I don't get the wall charts and sticker albums anymore, but I do feel like I'm 8 again, which is a lovely feeling.
The wall charts. And you know how many workplaces I've been where they get it out the paper and they put it on and start following along. You forget all these little things as well. And with the sticker albums, you were always trying to remember the team logos were always the badges special silver.
Well, they're shinies. They were like the most collectible Pokemons, weren't they, of their time? I always remember Kenny Dalglish was very hard to get when I was in primary one. Kenny Dalglish seemed to be, and he was at Liverpool at the time still, and he was the difficult one to get. And I think the Derby County badge, I can still see it. Honestly, it lifts my heart when I even think about the Derby County badge. I have no other connection to Derby, but the Derby County badge from the 1978 sticker album.
I do always remember as well, and correct me if I was wrong, but I remember as well, because obviously it would have the English teams and the Scottish teams. You get both, and the English teams would have double pages. And the Scottish teams had single pages. Single pages at the back, yeah. It's like, I mean, we're not going to go down that road, but in fairness, that's not fair.
We're going to reverse back up that road, and I'll remind you, and you'll remember this, how we went off school at the end of June.
I know exactly what you're going to say, yes.
3 weeks for the English kids to go off school so we could watch the Pink Panther. For 3 weeks, we had nothing, and then when we were back to school, they had another 3 weeks while we went to school and they watched cartoons.
You're absolutely right.
I honestly think that without wanting to go too heavily into politics, if the SNP had brought that up quite early doors during the referendum, they would have had a generation locked in if they'd reminded them how shoddily treated we were as kids.
You're right, though. That's true. I remember that. The first 2-3 weeks of the Scottish holidays, no children's television on anywhere. We were stuck with like Pebble Mill and stuff like that. And then as soon as the English kids went on holiday, all the children's TV summer programs started. And you're right, we'd go back to school and they were still on.
Yeah. And it was almost like taunting us. And this is meaningless to anyone under the age of probably 30, because you could watch the Pink Panther at 4 a.m. any day of the week now. I mean, there's so many like kids channels, Nickelodeon, and all the rest of it. I've probably aged myself saying Nickelodeon. That probably isn't a thing anymore. But no, back in the day when that was all we had, and Glenn Michael's Cavalcade was all we had in terms of watching cartoons, and the occasional random Tom and Jerry. It was like hen's teeth. So that 3 week wait. And the other thing, mother gripe, while we're on it, why don't you?
I loved Why Don't You?
Yeah, didn't love the Scottish version. It almost seemed like they were underfunded. Again, I'm not implying there was any kind of political motive, but it felt like Bristol got the money that Glasgow didn't. I don't know. Maybe I'm making that up. But I always felt that when it came from Scotland, it wasn't as good. And
I always wanted to be on it. I wanted to be one of those kids on there. I remember seeing an interview with a producer from it once, and he said everything they did, all the letters that they wrote, because no kid ever actually wrote into it.
Oh, really? So they just, oh my God, you couldn't get away with that now, could you?
No.
And famously, still the only television show or any show of any medium or any product of any medium which said, why are you consuming this? You should be doing something else.
Yeah, why don't you go outside and do something more? Yeah, the whole opening song was all that, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was almost like, it was a bit like, what do you call it? Existential divergence. Like, do you want me here or do you want me there? Do you want me to buy into this? By buying into this, you want me to up that tree? Yeah.
It's reverse psychology. You tell a kid to go do something, then they're going to say, no, I'm going to sit and watch this instead.
And no one else has taken up that mantle. No one else has grasped that psychological mechanism. I don't know why.
Yeah. But then Glenn Michael Cavalcade that you mentioned, I loved Glenn Michael's Cavalcade with Paladin the Lamp. And I mean, you couldn't get away with that nowadays. Just a lamp that lit up, and that was his friend that he chatted to.
I had a show with Donnie McCleary, who I do Fags and Mags and Bags with now, the Radio 4 show. We had a show. It was on Radio Scotland, then it was on BBC Choice, remember that, and then BBC Scotland briefly in a very graveyard slot. But it was called Shredded Week, and the idea was it was a listing show, and we'd review things in character. So, for example, Donnie would do a roundup of the soaps as Emperor Palpatine from Star Wars. So he'd say, and finally, Hollyoaks, wipe them out, all of them. And we would do an arts roundup as two Neds, before Neds were really done on telly. All right, ladies, my name's Alan Jaggers, I'm Albert Carl. Today we've been to Tron Theatre to see our Bad Magnet at Douglas Hodge. And they'd end up reviewing the toilets. But one thing that we used to do was we would record sketches as well. And we wanted a way of playing a sketch in the middle of this sort of mock listing show. And we came up with the idea of me being Glenn Michael and Donnie being the voice of Paladin. And we did that blue paint thing where you spill blue paint and then it would become the cartoon. And we did that, actually. And people thought we were taking the piss, but I genuinely loved Glenn Michael's Cavalcade, and it was affectionate for me. I mean, back in the day when I had my Nokia, I actually spent an afternoon on a train programming the theme. I had to do it myself, of Glenn Michael's Cavalcade in my phone. And it went off in a meeting in Manchester. And no one knew what it was. They all thought I was just an utter dick. But if that happened in Scotland, they'd be like, Glenn Michael's Cavalcade, just after Farming Outlook on a Sunday. No, it was Glenn Michael's Cavalcade was my little half hour of joy. And my mum and dad wrote into them for my birthday, and I never got a mention, but I did get a letter back, and I don't know what's happened to the letter. Wish I'd kept it.
Yeah. I mean, I can remember. I can remember the cartoons like nothing on earth. Birdman. I loved Birdman. And Wonder Wheels. No one ever remembers Wonder Wheels now as well. I'm like, this cartoon did exist. I promise you. And
the only place you could get Spider-Man as well, which I loved.
Was it?
Yeah, he showed Spider-Man, and during the week you'd maybe get like the Tom and Jerry or the Wile E. Coyote or stuff like that, but you wouldn't get Spider-Man during the week. You'd just get it if you were lucky on a Sunday.
I can remember as well when TV programs, they didn't quite time things right, and if they needed to fill, they would shove a cartoon in.
Yes,
because I think that's how I saw most of the classic Disney cartoons.
Yes,
with Donald Duck arguing with Chip and Dale and things like that. They need to fill 3.5-4 minutes, so they just randomly put a cartoon in. You were like, score!
Yeah. The other thing they did, and no one I know remembers this. I remember being off school once. I must have been maybe 9, and they did that similar thing, but they showed the ABBA Fernando video with Around a Fire. So randomly showing a video in the middle of the day. And I loved ABBA, as everyone should.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, now obviously, if you want to watch the ABBA Fernando video, you got it on your phone in 30 seconds. But then it was like, no one told me this was coming on. Probably because they didn't know either. The schedules are like scrambling on shelves, banging Betamax tapes into machines. But simpler times. And also, This is a genuine gripe of mine. It's like things are so easy to access now. And it sounds really Calvinist saying this, but it's almost like it's not worth the effort. Like, if I wanted to hear Led Zeppelin 4 and I was 15 years old, I would have to go to Tom Russell's record store in Bishop Briggs and buy the bloody thing. Or phone Tiger Tim and ask him to play it. There was a journey. And now there isn't. Now there's just bang. I mean, I listen to music walking the dog, and I'll go on YouTube Music, and I've listened to all the songs I want to listen to because it's so easy to do. It's like, oh, I've done them all now. Yeah. I'm listening to this for the third time now, and it's a weird thing. It's like everything's too accessible. There's no danger, not danger, but there's no, I don't know, there's no reward for it. I don't think.
I think the only thing that we've kind of got, and I don't know if you do it, but I know that I still do. Now, I love my DVD collection. I'd still like to have my films, physically there. I've got them. But I could get them all streaming on countless different things. And like I said, I've got a nice DVD collection as well. But you see if a film comes on TV, whether I've got it in my DVD collection, or I could stream it. If it comes on, I will probably sit and watch it, even though I could watch it at any time.
It's weird, isn't it? We've been doing that with the Harry Potters. It came on yesterday. And we've got it on our Skybox saved. And you're right. Or Goodfellas will come on. You're like, I'll watch 5 minutes before you know it, closing credits.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talking to DVDs, do you know, this is a bit of trivia for you. Do you know who's got the biggest lending library of animated DVDs in the world? Rick Astley.
Really?
Yeah, but he's never going to give you up. Oh, I love the way you walked right into
that. I did. Oh, I'm going to ask you the first question now as well. So, quick elephant in the room. Now, you're a Glasgow lad, yeah? And I've read that you're a very proud Glasgow lad as well.
Yeah, because I wasn't born here.
That's what I was going to say, but you were born in London.
Right.
Yeah. So you moved up when you were, what, 3?
Yeah. I mean, not by my own volition. I didn't. Yeah.
You didn't just go, don't like it here.
I said to Mum and Dad, I don't like it here. The people aren't friendly. No, I was 3 when the folks moved up. Yeah.
So where did you move to in Glasgow? Where did you live in Glasgow?
When we first moved up, so the reason we're in Scotland at all is my dad got a place in Teacher Training College in Dundee, which weirdly is where my daughter, his granddaughter, is studying. So it's all very circular. So he got his first actual teaching job in Glasgow, in Bishop Briggs. And we moved to a pokey wee flat in Hillhead in Glasgow. So we stayed in the sort of West End, like Hillhead area for a few years, maybe 3 years. I barely remember it. I was still young. And then we moved to Bishop Briggs when I was 5 or 6. So what's good about that is that, like, where are you from?
I'm an Edinburgh lad.
Okay, right. So you've got your geographical rivalries in Edinburgh. You have what is the big geographical rivalry in Edinburgh?
I mean, obviously, there's the Hibs Hearts rivalry, which is probably if you're going to split, then I would go Easter Road to sort of Dalry area. That's quite obvious, really. There, yeah.
Well, in Glasgow, there's this big thing about West End or South Side, and the South Siders think the West Enders are up themselves and blah blah blah. But when we moved to Glasgow, first of all, we settled in the West End, and then we moved to Bishop Briggs, which is Glasgow has a West End, an East End, a South Side, and a North. Nothing. There's no noun. It's almost like it's not worth giving a noun to. It's like the North, like Game of Thrones. Like there's White Walkers and Lindsay. So it makes me laugh my norks off when I hear this West End South Side thing going on. It's so utterly meaningless. And also, I went to school in the South Side, and we had a shop on the South Side. So I'm very fond of the South Side of Glasgow. I'm fond of all, but the East End's the only bit I don't really know. But I remember going to. I was living in Hindland. I still do actually, but my first flat in Hindland in the West End of Glasgow, and I met up with pals who lived in the South Side. Right, so just met up for like a fry up in the cafe and just off Victoria Road in the South Side of Glasgow near Queen's Park. And so I'm having lunch with them, and their pals come in just by chance, and they sit with us. And so the guy says, "So where are you from? You from around here?" I said, "No, I'm from Hindland." And he went, "Oh, aye." I said, "What?" He said, "West End, is it?" I said, "Aye." He said, "Yeah. You see, people stay in the West End, but they live in the South Side." What the fuck? What does that mean? I mean, I just love that people think that way.
It's funny when you started talking about it there, and you're talking about sort of the West End South Side. My head, and maybe this is the old drama school side of me, I started to imagine a full West Side Story based in Glasgow. I sort of like all these Neds going about clicking their fingers.
No, but the thing is, it wouldn't even be Neds. It would be all these posh idiots from the West End and posh idiots from Clarkston. Like, my dad's a lawyer. No. My dad's a dentist. It does my head in. I find it really funny.
You could say the same. And I'm again, this is another elephant in the room that I'm just getting out there. I'm an Edinburgh guy that loves Glasgow, but there is that. I'm going to say friendly rivalry, because it is a friendly rivalry. As soon as we leave Scotland, we forget about it. It's only when we're here. But we've got that rivalry there. It's purely about, it's silly stuff.
It is silly stuff, but I mean, they are very different cities for very good reasons. I mean, architecturally, they're very different. I maintain to this, even the other day, I've been to Edinburgh about 2 million and 3 times, and I still have to draw my breath when I come out of Waverley and I see the castle. It's a beautiful, beautiful city, a unique-looking city. I mean, Glasgow's a nice city. You couldn't see it as a unique-looking city. But they both got very different atmospheres, I think. Yeah. And also, I only had this explained to me recently, why there's so many music venues in Glasgow and hardly any in Edinburgh. And it's a whole licensing thing, isn't it? Is that the Edinburgh Council are much more draconian with the licensing or something like that?
It's getting harder. We're losing music venues all the time.
And Edinburgh, a city that size should have, you come to Glasgow, you could go anywhere from a 20-seater to the Hydro and all stops in between, and there'll be something going on. And obviously pre-lockdown, because bands weren't making money from recorded music, they were all touring. So you could see any size of band in any size of venue. Edinburgh, you're really, really struggling, and I think that really affects it as a.
It really does.
You've got the festival, which is its own thing, but then that's not really Edinburgh. That's its own entity, isn't it?
Yeah. But you're right. It really does. I mean, I can't tell you how jealous it made me when you guys got the Hydro.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's literally in the car park of the SCCC. You've got like, could we not have something like that? You know what I mean? But you're right. The music scene and on that sort of thing here is severely lacking. I mean, if you look historically wise, the Edinburgh Playhouse, if you go back historically wise, then 70s and 80s, that was one of the top music venues in the world. Everyone who is anyone played there.
That was the first gig I ever went to, was the Edinburgh Playhouse.
Me too. Who did you see?
Rainbow in 1983. I was 13 years old. And my brother took me and my brother and his 2 pals to see Rainbow playing live at the Edinburgh Playhouse.
Yeah, I was really lucky. My mum and dad introduced me to some incredible artists when I was young. I mean, my first gig on my own, Kylie Minogue, 1989. Because, Kylie Minogue. Yeah. But when I was young, they used to take me I saw John Denver, I saw the Everly Brothers, I saw Chuck Berry, and these incredible
all
names.
In the Playhouse?
All at the Playhouse.
Wow.
Playhouse. I mean, you go like Queen played there, Rolling Stones, Bruce Springsteen, they've all played at the Playhouse. Now, but they would do residencies. They would be there for like a week because it's a 3,000 seater. It's the largest city theatre in Europe.
Yeah.
It's a huge space when you're in there.
But I was on that stage once 2 years ago. We took Fags, Mags and Bags to the Edinburgh Festival, and 4th FM had this kind of thing at the Playhouse.
The Fringe show, yeah.
And I was on that stage. I couldn't quite believe it, and it was we just like a 2-minute excerpt from the show, and I was really, really nervous about it because like no one had come to see us do 2 minutes of a live radio reading. You know what I mean? They were after something else, but it was amazing to be on that stage because I say, that was a full 36 years after I'd been at my first gig there.
Yeah,
so that was
there's a great
nice
clip. Elton John did a very famous gig there with Fourth One, which was just Fourth FM, I think, at the time, back in the 70s, where it was live on the TV and on the radio at the same time. And you can still find this on YouTube. The whole thing's on YouTube now.
Right.
And it was a time where it used to have the whole old organ, where it used to play with, because it was a cinema as well.
Aye.
And it used to have the old Laurel and Hardy sort of did.
Aye, the Wurlitzer sort of thing,
Yeah, yeah. And he started the gig by coming up on that at the side of the stage playing I Do Like to Be Beside the Seaside. And it's like these beautiful, iconic moments. And now 3,000 seats isn't big enough for anyone to want to play.
Yeah.
It's a shame. It's a real shame.
It really is.
I mean, we've got a lot of cool things starting to come, but music venue-wise, we're struggling. We're really struggling. That's the one thing that I'm really jealous of you guys at. Really jealous.
Yeah, and people always say that the Glasgow crowds are. Glasgow crowds are. I mean, we do know how to party. I don't think that's a Glasgow thing. That's a Scottish thing. Yeah. As has been proved, no Scotland, no party at the Euros.
Yeah.
We just know how to bring a positive energy to things. I was so scared that it would turn nasty, but it never did. It just never did. There just seems to be a real goodwill at the centre of it all. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, we're old enough to remember the ICF, the Hibs casuals, and all the casuals that were ripping up train seats back in the bad old days. But we certainly know how to just bring an energy. And with bands playing London, audience they're a bit jaded, a bit like, seen this, done this. I do think there's still an element of when bands come up here, we're thankful that they came. And also, I do, and I've said this before, but I do believe it. I mean, I think a lot of people think that if you come to Glasgow, to Scotland, you're one of us. Even for that 2 hours, you're one of us. And the fact that you've come here is, you're welcome and please join in. And definitely politically, I'm seeing, some of the stuff that, I don't want to get political, but I do think that we're more welcoming as a nation.
I think we are. And I'm very lucky with this channel because I get people reaching out to me from all over the world, literally all over the world, that are wanting to come to Scotland, or they have heritage, or something that's connected them, that's made them interested. And all the ones that have come, they've always commented on how welcoming, no matter where they go in Scotland, how welcoming people are when they start to chat to them. That, if someone wants help, 9 times out of 10 we'll go, yeah, okay, what's wrong? You not know where you're going? Oh, fine, look. And then we'll give them directions that they can't understand. But we tried. That's the main thing.
Yeah. But how many times have you heard, like, someone from Scotland will go on the Underground in London and they cannot believe that people, after about 4 days, they tend to just have their edges taken off and they become like that. But for 3 days of that, I can't believe that people are so unfriendly and can't make eye contact and would walk past someone if they were on fire. Just wouldn't happen here. Just wouldn't happen here. Yep. I asked my dad not that long ago, because he'd come over from India in '66, and then he came to Glasgow in '73. And I said to him, "When did you feel like it was home?" And he said, "After about 20 minutes." He said, "Everyone was so friendly. I didn't fully understand what they were saying, but I felt the warmth." And I concur with that.
That's lovely.
Yeah, I mean, that's not to say there's no racism or prejudice or anything like that, but I think for the most part, I think people are welcoming here, and
I think nowadays we are becoming more accepting of everything, and I think it's something I'm very proud of. We are, I think, one of the most forward-thinking nations.
I think so. I think we are. When anything from gender politics to politics generally to race politics, I think we are.
Yeah, which is brilliant. And then something to be really proud of. And you wouldn't think it you're right, going back 30, 40 years, you wouldn't think of it. But now, let us lead the way. We know what we're doing.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm going to pull back to, we're going to politics, and we'll come back a little bit. So growing up, what about exploring Scotland holiday-wise? Was it staycations and things like that? Did you get to explore a lot?
My dad loves traveling, and before he's a bit too old to travel now, but he used to travel everywhere, and my mum not so much, but my dad loved it. So we got a caravanette, and we just do we'd go up to places like Oban or Loch Gilpid, or a really lovely holiday to Arran, which I've always been fond of, and Arran, which is really up to his game actually, as I think the whole Scottish tourism industry has, but that's another discussion. But so we would do like trips like that. Arran was amazing, like crazy golf, fishing, pony trekking, all of that stuff. But also we would generally, in any Asian family hotel, you always get someone visiting. So you always need your way to the airport, because there's this unwritten law in Asian culture, which is no one gets a taxi from the airport. Someone has to pick you up. So I can't tell you how many times we did the run to the airport to pick someone up. And when they were staying with us, we would show them Scotland. It was always Loch Lomond, right, and the Trossachs and Electric Brae. Now, do you know what the Electric Brae is?
I don't know.
Right. It's on the road to Ayr, and it's it's an optical illusion. So it's a slope, but it's actually, you think it's going up, but it's not. So if you pour a glass of water out, it looks like the water's going uphill. Or
right. Okay.
Volvo Estate up a hill with your one pinky, and we'd take people there, and so that was a place we'd go. Also, I don't know why we'd do this. We'd take them to Cash and Carries in Glasgow, and they'd buy sports socks. Like Glasgow was the centre point of sports socks in the world. I didn't quite get the logic there. I'm sure you can get sports socks in India. I'm sure you can. But yeah, we would do, and we do that thing as well of the Punjabi picnic. And again, you ask anyone, it's like you never ever go to a cafe. You always take your food, and there's always silver foil with either aloo puri or aloo paratha with pickled lemon, and always in foil. And it was just the best. It was the best. And generally speaking, if you go to a park, or you go to any kind of green area, you'll always see a family in the mums are in shalwar kameezes and they're dishing out food out of the silver foil. Because that was a big thing in India, doing little day trips and stuff like that. So it was a tradition that was taken over to here. So we saw quite a lot of Scotland actually.
That's nice, because I never got the chance. We never got the chance to do anything like that when I was young, for various reasons. Mom and dad's work and things like that. Yeah. Same as most people. In fact, it's probably one of the things I've done least, ironically enough, is get around Scotland as much as I'd like. I suppose in many ways I was very lucky, because we would go abroad. You know what I mean? It was just and going back to 70s, 80s when I was growing up, that was a big thing. You know what I mean? Right. But yeah. Ironically now, I wish we'd done more Scottish holidays. Not that I didn't enjoy them when I was a kid, the holidays we went on, but the amount of people that I've spoke to, like yourself, that they've went, we jumped in a caravan and we went here and we went there, and I'm like, I never did that.
Yeah, you changed to the radiator.
When I was taken abroad. However, I could swim like nothing on earth. Mom and Dad used to say, they'd go to these hotels, they'd sit by the pool, and I would be in the pool all day long, and then just spend half my time under the water. They'd get people coming up to them going, your son's been underwater for a while. Not going and help. Your son's been underwater. And they'll go, yeah, we know, he's fine. Then I'd pop up.
Yeah. No, that's the one thing that, like, my kids are a bit older now, but that was a standard that wherever we go, it has to have a pool. It's the one thing that united all three of them. In fact, we just had a bit of a disastrous attempt at a holiday last week. I won't bore you with the details, but just because of COVID, they'd overbooked, and you have to book your swimming slots, and they would take it for the whole week. I thought, why did we come here? We came here for the pool. We can't get into the pool. To book
your swimming slots.
Well, that's what you have to do. That's the thing. It's for COVID reasons. So it's like, we ended up just coming back the next day, which is a bit annoying. But I do think that Scotland, since I was a kid, has definitely upped its game.
I think the tourism field in Scotland is a different beast now. It's a different animal. There's so much to do and see now that a lot of these places that didn't realise that people would be interested to come and see it we can give you something.
I think that just comes from the Scottish low self-esteem. It definitely does. It takes for Americans to come here and say your scenery is beautiful, to say, he's right, it is beautiful. I never saw that before. And absolutely. The Scotland was beautiful. But I see now, my one of my favourite places is Moor 84 and Monocle Moor, and that whole brand. They started in Glasgow. They've got basically a couple of cafes and a bakery, and they've got places in Calendar like a Moor bakery and a Moor fish, and it's that thing of, you know, the way they've taken the stag and they've made that like the icon of Scotland, but you get these really groovy stags. It's kind of that's what they've done. They said we've taken traditional Scotland, but we've really updated it with the best of bread, the best of fish, the best of meat. And you go to Moor 84, and it's all beautiful bleached floorboards and like shabby chic and stags. It's like, yeah, you know, even 10 years ago it would have been a horrible tartan carpet and you know, all that you know, the piper and the tin and all that stuff. That's in the bin now. We've got a Scotland now that we can be proud to showcase to the world. And
it's funny though, when you were talking about that, I was reminded by the old Billy Connolly bit where when you're a kid, you don't realise that that's beautiful. I remember him doing a sketch where
appreciate. Aye.
But he had these kids and he was going, look at that, kids. And the kid, like, you know, a beautiful vista of Highland hills and everything like that. And the kids would run over and go, what? Because they don't know that they're looking at the hills. And those little plastic tubes with Highlanders in them, you're right, we used to give them to each other.
Yeah. I would have been embarrassed to give that to anyone outside of Scotland. I want that to be our little dirty secret, you know? And now you've got stuff you can actually, you can buy like Aran soap, you can buy genuinely, Harris Tweed. I love the way the Harris Tweed is finally kicking its height and getting the recognition it deserves and being used in the way it should. You can give someone a beautiful wee purse or bag or whatever, or keyring, and it's actually properly lovely. And this is the Scotland that should be, you know, the world should be seeing and is seeing now, thankfully.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much going on with, like, there's a big rejuvenation of all the old whiskey distilleries around Scotland as well that you can go and you can visit and you can see, and a couple of ones that have been dead for a couple of years. I think ghost distilleries are called, that have been gone for a few years, that are getting brought back to life because people are interested and they want to go see these places. It's like, well, okay, you can do that. Yeah,
my friend of mine, she did this thing. She actually worked in the BBC and she was like really high flyer, but she wanted to chuck it all in. And her boyfriend lived in Jura, and they've got a business now where their boast is they can get you from London to this lodge in Jura in something like 1.5 hours. They'll lay it all on, and you could be, maybe that's a bit of exaggeration, but the point is you could be from built up London to looking at that loch.
Yeah,
you know, and no mobile signal in about 2 hours, and people are really they're losing their shit over it. It's exactly what they want. Yeah. And there's stags over there, and there's, by the way, the food's really great, and it's finally we're marketing ourselves in the right way, which is great.
Yeah, we
and really there's a confidence, you know, which we never had before. And
I don't think we realised how appealing we were before. I don't think we got it.
No, but also, if you noticed as well, and I don't know if this is a function of social networking or YouTube or TikTok or whatever, but the younger generation, I mean, I'm 50 now, right? So my kids are, in fact, my daughter's 20 on Tuesday. I've got a daughter who's 17. I've got a son who's 14. They're so much more comfortable speaking their own accent and going public with it. You know, I see it in what Limmy does. I see it in what the Burniston boys do. I see it in what Gary Tank Commander does. I suppose Still Game as well, but they're playing older people. But people, they really don't care. They'll say what they like in their accent and they'll put it out to an international audience. And there's a pride there that wasn't there before. And I'm really enjoying it, you know. I'm really enjoying it. I think that Scotland just seems to be... I felt it as well when, just with the Euros there, just... We had the best song, you know. We had the most... Yes, Sir, I Can Boogie. It probably sounds a bit flippant to say it, but we had the best song, and it was organic. It was, you know, it wasn't in any way kind of stilted. It was
just born out of a moment, wasn't it?
Born out of a moment. It was Andrew Considine had mimed it, and then the Aberdeen fans picked up on it, and then the Scotland fans picked up on it, and John McGinn picked up on it, and there was no embarrassment or cringe. You know, talk about the cringe factor when you talk about Scottish culture. There was no cringe. It was all good, and that was a lovely thing to see. The energy of it was lovely to see.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, I remember the last time we were in it back in 96, 97, because I was living in London at the
Yeah.
time. I just went down to drama school at the time. But you're right about the accent as well. I remember moving down there and having to, and I've not got the strongest accent as is, but
Sorry?
still having to lighten it down so that people could understand what I was
Mm.
saying. And then I'd phone home, I'd phone my mum and dad, and my flatmates would be going, "You see, when you go on the phone, I
You
cannot
go
understand
Scottish.
the word you're saying." But
And also as well, like the way that we watch television as well, like, people will say that, I love still game, but people not from Scotland. And there's a fairly sizable amount of people that watch it from outside of Scotland.
yeah,
I mean, they'll say, I didn't understand it for a while, but once I did understand it, I was hooked. That's the whole thing. It's like when I watched The Wire, it took me a full 2 episodes to understand what they were saying. But once I was in, I made the journey. I transported myself into that world, and then I'm in. I mean, and it's not even going outside of Scotland. I remember reading Trainspotting the first time, and it was page 66 or something, where I got the rhythms and the cadences of the whole Leith thing. And I did feel like a Leith junkie by page 67. This middle class private school educated boy from Glasgow with Asian parents.
but
by
you're
persisting, and it's such a rich culture. I mean, that's the thing. Scotland has such a rich ancient culture, and it's only been recently that we've been properly proud enough to celebrate it.
I had Ian Buchanan on a while ago, and obviously he's been a Scottish actor working in America for decades. But when Trainspotting came out, and remember there was all those silly stories of people around the world were having to watch it with subtitles, whether they spoke English or not, when Trainspotting came out. And he said genuinely that when he lived in America, well, he still lives in America, that the amount of friends that were, say, asking him to come to the cinema with him to translate it. And he saw it like 5 or 6 times in the cinema because people would keep going. And eventually he said, I had to start saying no because I was just talking through the whole film, telling my friends what they were saying. But now, yeah, we're like, no, this is how we sound. I'm not going to lighten it.
Yeah,
like enjoy it.
Make the effort, and yeah.
So with that then, since you got to explore Scotland and with your work, is there places where if you get a gig in Scotland that you kind of go, oh, I love it when I'm working there, I love it when I'm filming there, or anything like that? Or do you just love it all kind of the same?
I mean, I do love most of it, I have to say. I do love like going to like places like Troon and Prestwick and Irvine, and we were in West Kilbride the other day. I do love the coast there, especially when it's properly hot. It's amazing. Also, my wife's family are from Lewis, from the Western Isles, and went up to Luscantar Beach in Harris a couple of years ago, and I'd not been there before. And I thought, if Netflix ever wanted to film heaven, they should come here because it's Baltic. But my God, look at it! It looks like heaven. It is the most magical place. Just the Western Isles generally as well. I mean, I tried to learn Gaelic for this documentary I was doing, where it was basically about me trying to learn Gaelic. So it kind of just made me connected me to the place. I mean, obviously, because my kids are, they've got Gaelic blood and they've got Punjabi blood, not Gaelic, they've got like Western Isles blood and Punjabi blood in them. So I feel like I've got a connection anyway. So I feel that connection as well. And it's always nice going to that neck of the woods. And because I did this documentary, they're always speaking to me in Gaelic, and I'm like, Ishvisha Sanjeev, Hamia Glasgow, and that's all I've got. I've just got the basics. I love Edinburgh. Do you know what? I'm particularly in love with Prestonfield House. It's just such a unique place. So you turn a corner and there's a peacock talking to you, and this amazing Rococo standalone building, and you go in and it's so well done. It's so over the top, but in a good way. It's beautiful. Just George Street as well, all those lovely boutique hotels. I was staying in one the other night, the Kimpton, which used to be, what did it used to be? It used to be, I can't remember. But the Scotsman as well is amazing. We stayed in there once and we lucked out. We got this executive suite thing because it was available, and it was just amazing. Fife and like St Andrews and St Mullins and stuff is something that I've discovered laterally as well. Is a beautiful bit, and I suppose the most unsung is the Borders. I mean,
it kind of gets forgotten about.
It does get forgotten. It's beautiful. If I ever go through there on the train, I'm thinking, why are there not more people here? North Berwick is stunning. It's absolutely stunning.
Really is.
And what I like about a lot of these places is they've gone a little bit hipstery. So you can get your kind of miso soup ice cream and all that, and there will be a guy with, a beard down his belly button and a man bun. And I'm a bit of a sucker for that stuff. It's it's kind of like, I don't like tweeness. This whole thing about how Scotland is actually kind of modernising itself and marketing itself, and even when you go to some of these more kind of not obscure but like more geographically like isolated parts, there's still somehow the hipsters have found it, and I love that. I do love that.
They do find their way everywhere. But like East Lothian Council reached out to me. Well, not so much the council, but the council had put together a tourism team sort of thing, and they reached out to me to say, look, we love the stuff you do, would you mind coming out to us and thing it? And I'm like, I would love to, because the stuff out there is just beautiful. Obviously they've got some more touristy things, like they kind of sort of go ape kind of things and stuff like that, which is brilliant. But some of you can't throw a stone for hitting a castle. You know what I mean? It's it's beautiful.
It's good that you got both. Like you talk about go ape. I mean, if you go to Loch Lomond Shores, you've got the best of Scotland. You've got there's a House of Fraser, and you've got the Scottish shops, and then you've got the tree zone, and it's all there, and it's all beautifully put together.
Yeah. It's like here, though. It's like in Edinburgh, because obviously the new St James Quarter has just opened.
Which got flooded.
Right, yeah. Really badly. But then, in fairness, like they had the whole of Edinburgh had half of July's rain in an hour, and it just like Stockbridge flooded completely. And the roof that's in there, they've got a beautiful canopy glass roof, and if it was just normal everyday rain, it would have been absolutely fine, but that rain was bad. But yeah, so we've got this beautiful 1 billion shopping centre, which is full of the kind of shops you'd expect, your branded shops. And I'm actually very much for, support the local businesses, and I try to show local businesses as much as I can. But that's important as well. You know what I mean? It's important to have these big, as well as the little things that embrace our culture and embrace our locals. It's important to have these big things as well, because people want a bit of both. People really do. Yeah.
But I guess the idea is to give them equal pegging, level pegging. Because there's I can't remember what it's called, but there's a really brilliant shop in the Buchanan Galleries in Glasgow. So like you say, you've got your Echo shoes, and you've got your Starbucks and Costa and boots and all the rest of it. And then you've got this amazing shop that sells all Scottish artist stuff, and it's reasonably priced as well. That's the other thing, and it's there in amongst all these other shops. You're thinking there's no cringe factor. There's no we're just a wee Scottish shop. It's like, no, we're as good as they are.
Yeah.
In fact, we're better because you can get this in Coventry. You can't get this in Coventry. You get all of that in Waltham, so you can't get this here. So you're right. It's about, you both are important, and they both should feed each other, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully you should. Like having a little shop like that in amongst all these big shops is brilliant, because people will go to their Next and their Ralph Lauren and all these sort of things and go, I can. But you're right, you can get them in any one of their shops, and then next door you might get a beautiful local sculptor. I don't know anything,
That's the thing. Like if you go, like I was working in Ipswich recently, and I was walking around the town centre. I thought, if you just drop me here, there's nothing here to say I'm in Ipswich. It's almost like I do a joke where there's always a river island next to monsoon, because clearly the rainfall created the river island. But it's almost all the same bloody shops. Waterstones and all that, and which are all, look, I'm a total consumer. I'm a total tertiary. I love spending money. I'm a total consumer, and I love all that stuff. And I'm probably more urban than rural anyway. I'm more of a city kid. But what is there to say that I'm in Ipswich here? There's nothing.
Yeah.
So you
apart
need
from the
that.
fact it might say it on the Starbucks, Starbucks Ipswich.
Yeah, I know.
I like to finish off with what I call difficult questions for us Scots.
Okay.
So again, I don't know if you're a vegetarian or if you don't drink. I don't know anything like that. So if any of these don't fit, feel free to change it to something appropriate. But
Okay.
Shortbread or tablet?
Shortbread. Tablet's too sweet.
No,
tablet gives me ulcers. I'll take a little Cuba tablet, and it gives me the mouth ulcers. Shortbread, I can, and also shortbread you can dunk in your tea, and it will maintain its integrity.
I love my shortbread tea. I love shortbread. I'm addicted to it. Iron brew or whiskey?
Iron brew. I'm not a big fan of whiskey, and I wish I was. I keep get given really nice whiskey, and it's wasted on me.
But then nothing wrong with a bit of iron brew. There's nothing.
And I used to make iron brew ice cubes when I was a kid. Just pour it in the tray and watch Wimbledon eating iron brew ice cubes.
It's like that. I remember seeing a thing on, he used to get these hacks online, and people were saying, if you've got any old wine, turn it into ice cubes, and then you can put that into your white wine, and won't dilute it with water. And then someone turned around going, who's got old wine? And it's the same with the iron brew. Who's got old iron brew to put in there?
Also, I've got an iron brew kilt, a kilt of iron brew tartan, which
that's kind of cool.
It is cool, but I can't wear it.
But does it clash with everything?
It clashes with everything in the world. I mean, everything in the world is it's just a bit too much. But I'm glad I've got it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Haggis, neeps and tatties, or mince and tatties?
Haggis, neeps and tatties.
See, I love haggis.
I love haggis, and also I prefer my mum's Punjabi mince to Scottish mince. Anyway, but haggis, neeps and tatties I love. Yeah. And I even like veggie haggis.
I like veggie haggis, and all these veggie dishes just get better and better. Really are. Last but by no means least, this is what everyone tends to find the hardest. Tunnock's tea cake or caramel wafers?
Caramel wafers, because I don't like the false mallow. Do you know when you get the two versions of snowballs, which are very different from each other? I prefer the sponge coconut ones. I'm not a mad fan. But as someone who has worked for Tunnock's in the past, I probably shouldn't express a preference anyway, as I'm the voice.
They're all just as good. They're all just as good.
But I do. I have to say, I do prefer the caramel wafer.
I think some people have found that the Tunnock's is maybe for the tea cake's maybe for a special occasion.
Yes.
And the caramel wafer, again, good for dunking in your tea.
Good for dunking. Or Stuart or Angus.
Or your iron brew. Sanjeev, this has been a genuine joy chatting to you. I have loved every minute of it. Thank you for sparing the time and coming on. Thank you for opening Series 3 for me. Thank you so much.
No worries. It's been my pleasure.
That was brilliant. That was absolutely, absolutely brilliant. It actually did. The Still Game is a programme that's held so dearly in Scotland that it almost kind of felt like talking to Scottish sitcom royalty a little bit there. That was lovely. Sanjeev, thank you so much for sparing your time and coming on and chatting to me. It was a genuine pleasure. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please remember, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe if you haven't already. But till next time, bye humans.